enjoying the vibes and you're enjoying the tunes, but it is now time to tune in to the Black Love Club.
It's the Black Love Club. We on the radio. Turn the speaker up. You could tune in to live stream, but vibing and dial into the station. Join the conversation. Hey yo, say the Black Love Club is on the radio. You could tune into the live stream, just vibing and dial into the station. Hey yo, yeah, the Black Love Club, we on the radio.
So whatever you did, do it.
Welcome back to the Black Love Club. All right. I'm so excited to be back again today with you guys. It's me, Nikki Talks, and Richard Roots, and Edgar Prime. We're back in the building, you guys. I'm so excited. All right, guys. So, all right. I want to know how you guys in the comments, how y'all week has been going. Let us know in the comments, how's your week been going? With everything that's going on, how's your week been going? Shout out to everybody who's already tuned in. Let somebody else know. I'm sharing the live too. All right, guys. We're just vibing out right now. All right. And again, welcome back to the Black Love Club. And here at the Black Love Club, we are here to remind you that Black love is real, Black love is strong, and Black love still exists. So let's get into it. So, sorry. Look, I put the thing up too high, y'all. My bad. Y'all probably was like, what is she doing? All right. But how's your week been going? Who wants to go first? How your week been going? He's laughing. Because we were just talking.
It was
about
comical.
They were just talking about how their week was going. And I was like, yo, wait for the show. But I'll start off how my week been going. First of all, my week has been going really, really good. Actually today, my son, our youngest son, he had just got his first haircut today. And he's so cute. Like, he got his first haircut and got it cut in like a really cute style. Yeah, I'm excited about that. That was fun. He did very well. And yeah, this is really cool. Let's see who else. April says she is excited about the show tonight. And hold on. I don't know. She said there's good in every situation. Are you responding to something, Mickey Minnie? She said there's good in every situation, but I'm not sure what she's talking about. Barbara, she said, I am doing good, trying to send her grandkids a package.
Oh, yes. Send those grandkids a package. They deserve a package.
But yes, so besides that, I think that's been like the highlight of my week. My son getting his haircut, his first haircut. I got some pictures and stuff. I'm probably have to get it in here and just show it to you guys. But also, what else did we do this week? I don't know. I feel like it all combines together, and like, I don't know. I'll be doing like the random stuff, normal things that I'll be doing. But how's your week been? Let's see, Edgar Prime.
You know, you brought that up. I thought you had this profound thing that happened this week. But no, man, it's been a good week. I've been blessed. I've been working with this personal trainer for a couple of weeks now, and it's tough, but it's very needed as for men in general, so that we take care of our bodies. But it's also the mental aspect of pushing yourself, struggling, and still going further, exceeding your limits, and holding yourself to like a standard, being accountable. Because it's real easy to like Like I have to be here. We're supposed to be here at 5:30. I'm not usually here at 5:30, but I was supposed to be here at 5:30. But I leave the gym around 5, and between the drive, getting home, getting dressed and everything, there's so many times where it's like, man, I just want to sit down a little bit, just rest a little bit. But we don't have that time. We got to get out here and do the work. And so it's about being accountable. It's about showing up. And man, dude, I'm blessed. I'm happy to be here.
That's good. What about you, Mr. Richard?
So that was pretty much my week. We had the same week. We were together. Well, it was I don't know anything else that will highlight my week. Other than the fact that physical therapy. That was exciting. But yeah, other than I think the highlight was my son getting his haircut. It was a hard thing to watch. But at the same time, it was exciting. It was something exciting to see because I was watching the old him disappear and the new him just transform right in front of my eyes. So I mean, that was exciting.
Yeah, I was trying to get a picture of you guys to show you guys, but it wasn't coming up. But y'all, if y'all follow us like on our personal pages, you can see it. But yeah, so I'm really, really excited. We had a really great show. You want to tell them about the show that we have, but it's going to be rescheduled? Tell them what's up with that.
Yes, that was the disappointing thing about this week, but it's bittersweet. Maybe that's what Mickey Minnie said. That's a good thing in every situation. But today's topic, we're going to be talking about: are we losing the value of community in the age of individualism? In other words, in the age of do you?
In the age of do you.
No, that's really exciting. That's an exciting topic. Give us just a little tidbit about it.
Prime?
Oh, I'm sorry, not Prime. I was give us a tidbit about it. So go ahead. Prime, look, he's ready.
Oh yeah.
Just a little tidbit.
Hey man, I've been waiting on this since the last show. So I spent some time thinking about this, and the first thing we got to understand is when we say the age of individualism, what are we really referring to? And I believe there's several factors that's kind of played into this. Social media being one of them. The contrasting idea that something that's called a social network really divides us more than it actually connects us. We tend to have less depth in our communications or our relationships, because when we spend a good amount of time interacting with people via social media, what we end up doing is we interact with the representative of those people. We get to interact with the part of them that they want to express. And that, so that in general creates a lot of shallow relationships. That, and I also feel like we are in a period where the adultification of children is going wild. And so that you add in broken homes, kids don't have a lot of examples of good functioning relationships. They're being expected to be adults sooner than ever. Trust is at an all-time low. So we're going to start thinking we got to fend for ourselves as do you. And when everyone is focused on the individual, we lose sight of the bigger picture.
That is really good. I enjoy that. When we get into this topic, I already know he came with that. So I'm like, once we get into it, he's gonna be coming into it.
I think that's why the camera chose him. I was like, oh well, the camera has spoken.
Yes. All right, guys. So let's get into Voices and Visions with me, Nikki. All right, guys. So remember last time I had talked about, and y'all may have seen it in the media, about Chris Lewis. He's a black dad who was arrested after leaving his young kids at McDonald's to attend a job interview. Now, there's been an update to it, so I want to give you guys an update, give you the full story of everything that has been happening. All right, so Chris Lewis, he's a 24-year-old African-American father from Augusta, Georgia. Now, he was arrested last week after he left his 3 young children alone in McDonald's while attending a nearby job interview. Now, in this incident, it sparked debate and raised awareness about the struggles that faces parents without access to affordable care. But there has been an update. And if you don't know the kids' ages, they're 1, 6, and 10. Now, the police in Georgia are saying that the key parts of Chris Lewis' viral story about leaving his 3 young children alone in McDonald's don't add up. The 24-year-old was arrested on March 22nd at McDonald's in Augusta after officers found his children, 10, 6, and 1. They had been left unattended in the restaurant for more than 90 minutes. Now, initially, Lewis claimed he had no transportation and left the kids in the play area while walking to a nearby hotel for a job interview. But new evidence have caused investigators to question that narrative. Now, according to the Augusta Chronicles, witnesses reported seeing Lewis inside the McDonald's around 4:30 p.m. Talking on the phone, said that he needed to drop off something. Investigators later learned that he had left the restaurant to deliver a backpack. Meanwhile, the children's 10-year-old sibling eventually called for their mother, who arrived at the restaurant around 6:12. Now, she was deeply concerned. Lewis reportedly returned a few minutes later with the backpack in hand, telling the police he had lost his ID and another card and had been retracing his steps. Now, we don't know all the things that's been going on, but they even talked to the place where he did apply. He did apply at a hotel, but the hotel was like, but we didn't have an interview lined up for him. So hopefully his story gets together, because it's pretty alarming. I thought he was inside in the beginning, it sounded like he was inside the restaurant. And I was like, why is it such a big deal? But he actually left the restaurant. So I understand. And which is kind of, crazy. Now, if you have also been hearing about Carmelo Anthony, the 17-year-old Black teen who killed a student in self-defense. Now, so far, he has raised $250K for legal defenses. Now, he's an African-American teen who fatally stabbed Austin Metcalf at a track meet in Frisco, Texas last week, Wednesday. Now, he has raised over $250,000 through Give Go Send page that was created for his legal defense. According to police, Anthony confessed to the stabbing and claimed he was acting in self-defense. Witnesses say the altercation began with Metcalf told Anthony, who was sitting under another school's tent, that he needed to move. The incident quickly escalated into a fatal encounter and has left the community stunned and divided. Now, Anthony comes from a great home. Might I add, he really comes from a great home, a 2-parent home. His father is in his life. He's really active. He is also on a football team and do a lot of different sports. So this has all happened because he stated in a viral Facebook post stating that his relative Kevin Haynes stated this. Anthony was bullied by the Metcalf brothers and that they broke his phone. Now, legal experts, however, say that self-defense arguments may be difficult to prove as the victim was unarmed. But attorney Mike Howard explained that provoking a confrontation undermines any self-defense claim. Nonetheless, the defense may argue that Anthony panicked after being allegedly jumped. So there are also, they say that there were 30 students and coaches that witnessed the stabbing, but despite the devastating loss, Jeff Metcalf, that's the other Austin's twin brother, had publicly forgiven Anthony, saying he leaned on his faith during a difficult time. The world needs more kind people, and if you can find one, be one. So I definitely hope that everything will come out with that, because one, he's a really great kid, come from a really great home, and I feel like this shouldn't shape him, but it definitely should help him better his decisions in the future. Now, if you ever heard Felicia Rashad, she was on the Breakfast Club a few weeks ago, and she was just talking about how, we need the light we carry, and if you carry light. And then she also mentioned something about modesty and how women should be covering themselves up. Now she's back in the spotlight, but this time women are not praising her, but they are picking apart her life. Some women are highlighting that she was a 3-time divorcee, and that means just because she was modest, she couldn't keep a man. So I actually have, I think I have actually the clip of somebody, this is what they were saying. So let me show you. All right. So she said, I would never let an old washed up actress in her 70s who has been divorced 3 times telling me how I should dress. You're modest but single, so it's not working for your granny. Let us youngin' have our butts out if we want, right? Now, I find issue definitely with what she's saying. Now, this is making women question: does being modest mean a healthy marriage? Some would argue that it never is dependent on how a woman dress, but how she treats a man she is with. Modesty is simply a perk and reflects how the woman's moral code is. So, clubbers, what are you guys' thoughts? Do y'all feel like modesty is like a thing that is gonna get you married, or is it like it doesn't matter how you look? You can, look. He started smiling. He was smiling, so I know he got something. I know he got something.
You know, Richard Roots, I listen to this and I just think this has to be a conversation between women. Because could you imagine an elder man saying, even if it was wild, saying that, and then you or a group of guys coming around being like, hey, we don't listen to the old heads no more. We don't need to hear what you got to say.
Right.
Like that to me is wild. And it's like, even if you don't want to take the advice, how are you going to try and encourage her not to tell you? That's literally, she's been here 70 years. She had to do something right.
Right.
Like, you don't accidentally live for 70 years and not be, Miss Rashad. Like, that's not possible.
Yeah.
So, but I completely agreed with what she said. But what's your take on it?
I think what you're saying is facts. And it is hard for a man to actually say, well, no, don't do that. But when we did our street portions, when we went to the street and we asked women, what is it that men look for in a woman, right? The very first person we interviewed was an older woman.
Okay.
And she said the same thing as Felicia Rashad. Now, the post got a lot of comments on social media.
Oh, she's the one who was like, this might not be good for your cat. Okay.
That's the one.
Right.
That's the one.
Yeah, I love that one.
So one of the guys, it's funny that she mentioned Felicia Rashad, because one of the guys who commented, he said, if they're not going to listen to Felicia Rashad, they're not going to listen to Grandma here. Mm-hmm. But this lady was actually in a successful relationship and in a successful marriage. But I think what people don't consider when we're looking at celebrities is that they live a whole complete different lifestyle than us. Mm-hmm. And the pressure that they have, it can't be measured on the same scale. So when we look at a celebrity marriage that lasts a long time, I mean, we can celebrate that. But when we look at a celebrity marriage that falls really quickly, we can't be too quick to judge them or even compare them to our standards. I mean, they live a completely different life, and they live under the magnifying glass.
Yeah, so their life is definitely picked apart a whole lot more than what
Right.
ours. So that pressure, which is why some people keep it a lot out of the media and different things like that. So, and their travel schedule, a lot of things can rip, celebrities apart that
Right.
we don't have to deal with. We don't have to worry about a travel schedule because you're coming home every night and you work down the street or something. But they work. They might be spending half of the years in New York, just like recording or something like that.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, somebody had clapped back at the woman who said that. She was like, but she's been chosen 3 times.
Ooh.
And they were like, but your profile say you are a single nasty woman. Basically, because that's in her profile, the girl she had, it was like nasty freak, whatever, single. And she was like, and you have babies, but you ain't got no husband. So
speaking of that Sierra video I saw, I'm sitting up like, man, I was like, is she not married with kid? Never mind. That's a whole different conversation.
Sierra got a new video.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Y'all, like, what are you guys' thoughts? Because I definitely feel as though I feel like Felicia was right. We have to be mindful how we dress. You're definitely perceived on the way that you're dressed. So it's like you must be mindful. That's men are looking at that. They might be with the girl who's half naked for like a short amount of time until they have fun and they're done.
So the woman on the street too. If y'all haven't watched any of the street portion videos, you can find them on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. But the woman said, and it's true, she said they may actually get in a relationship with you, but they're not going to commit themselves to you. And she I don't think she said no. You know what she said? She said they will sleep with you,
They will sleep with
They
you.
will lay you down.
but they will not marry you. And that
Mhm.
goes back to the Felicia Rashad post. The guy was saying, um, but she was chosen 3 times, which is true. And he said, I don't know if this is true, but he said she wasn't picked.
She wasn't.
So I mean
I'm have to
it's
go
true. Like,
get that.
you might want to weigh the options. I mean, consider it.
Yeah.
Consider the details. Are men marrying these kind of women?
Well, one, I would like to give a shout out to Barbara. I saw your message, your comment, and I want you to know I appreciate you showing. You know, I have my dreads down the last few shows, but they back braided up, looking good. Everybody else is looking good. I appreciate you noticing. With that said, I think modesty is a big thing, though.
Yeah.
And so with men, we don't have control over our eyes, so to speak. And so we are naturally attracted to the feminine figure. So an easy way to get the attention of a man is to have less clothing, but the best way to get intention from a man is to be of substance with your clothing on, because I can't take you anywhere half naked and not be a man, not be in a situation where I'm embarrassing myself and possibly opening up me or you for unwanted conflict. So that modest persona, one, it gives you something to unwrap later. Like, I remember talking with someone and they was like, men don't even seem like they care about lingerie anymore. That used to be a thing. I was like, well, y'all wearing it outside.
Yeah.
Why would I get excited about something when you're wearing it down the street? So the modesty is important, because if you reserve that for your man, that makes him feel good. That gives him something to respect. That gives him something to cherish.
Right.
When you display it all for everybody to see, anything everybody can have is typically not worth much.
Facts.
That's true.
And it's funny too. It's crazy that we are, as men, it's not okay for us to say what's appropriate and what's not for the female, which is it's funny, because I think women look at it as, oh, he's going to be a controlling man, instead of being a man who has standards. And I think that's what it is. Women aren't used to men having standards. So when we start saying things like, nah, I want my woman to dress modest, and say, I want my woman to speak like this or anything like that, it's like, how can a man tell me what to say and what to do? When on the contrary, if a woman says, I want my man to dress like this or talk like this, men are like, okay, that's your standards. That's what you want. Some men would actually conform. Women would do that too, but immediately women are pressed. Oh, don't do all that for a man. And I think this is the kind of stuff that's like hurting our relationships instead of building them up. Because I mean, I take pride in looking good for my woman. Why dress in this nice outfit and it only looks good to me? And my wife's like, what you got on? You know what I'm saying? Why on the contrary, why would a woman do that? Dress in this outfit. I've been in a space where a man was like, he's embarrassed of what his wife has on.
Oh, that's a terrible spot to be in.
Yeah, that's
a terrible spot to be in, because you still got to go home with her. Oh man, that's a rough spot. No, I completely agree with you. And I think I lost my train of thought there, but if I was gonna say, I think it's good, because your wife is gonna be a reflection of you. And so you shouldn't present either of yourselves in a way that's going to embarrass the other. And I think I think it's a sign of respect. And as we discussed on the last show, the language of love for men is respect. And so by you being more modest, especially in public, that shows respect to your man.
That's true.
Right.
April said she loved being modest, and in my relationship, I give him all of me, not for the other man. And that's true. It's like, and I think a lot of women, they feel, I don't know, They feel like as if you can't look good and still be covered. I'm gonna tell you, like I told my husband, he knows when I go somewhere. I told him when I'm dressed like, what I think all the time I'm dressed pretty nice, but when I'm actually dressed like really nice, most of the time I wear heels and different things like that. But when I go in these places, people are men and women. They are doing extra things for me, right?
Mhm.
If I was dressed a lot more skimpier, people wouldn't. Some men might be moving out the way just to get a better view or whatever. But it's just like no, like they're very respectful. They're like, you need help in anything? Like it is. I am treated like a queen majority of the time when I'm going out. And, I feel like when you are dressed nice, I feel like if anything happens, they're going to go save the person who looks really well first. And, like I make sure that our kids look good and everything like that. I try to just make sure everybody looks good. So, what you laughing at? What you laughing at over there?
And, wait, what did you say? If something happens, they're gonna look for the person who looks really
No,
good.
like I feel
first?
like they will. I feel like you will be like, oh, ma'am, let me help you. Like, like move you out the way, of the bullet. Like, I
Did you
feel
look
like
at
it.
that?
I do. Like, I feel like they will be like, they'll move you out the way. They'll make sure you're good.
Hey, I agree with you. I heard a wise man was telling me one day. He was like, when you're around a very feminine woman, because as a man, if you're around a very feminine woman, you can't help the urge to be protective.
That's true.
And so
That's
the
true.
way you present yourself, where you go, does influence how people respond to you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go in there and you dress with class, with some modesty, people are going to be more likely to cater to you, to be more respectful to you, because you're showing respect for yourself. When you're showing you don't really respect yourself by just having all of your business out, people aren't going to be in a rush to respect you. I always say we experience people differently. We experience people from where we are.
Mm-hmm.
So your individual experience is a part of how you look at yourself, how you present yourself.
That's true.
Right.
And that's what I was meaning.
And Miss Barber said you're a queen. I'm happy he broke that down too, because I was like, I imagine like something just breaking out in a supermarket and a guy's like, stop it. You know what? No, she's beautiful. Her kids are dressed nice. I'm gonna save them first.
No,
but I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
like they're gonna come from the woman, and they're gonna come for the woman and the kids first, the nice dressed woman, but the bad dressed woman is gonna get left.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that's how people are. Like they take care, especially if you're a woman with kids, they're gonna try to help you regardless.
Mm-hmm.
But then if a well dressed woman, then you're next in line. So it's like I feel like you just gotta put yourself up there. Now just be respectful. Now we're going to dive into, have we traded community and collective responsibility for personal success and independence? I feel like you changed that. You made it longer.
Yeah, I did. But yes, I would say the answer is yes.
The answer is yes. So are we losing the value of community in the age of individualism? Right. So I want y'all to think about that.
Oh no, that was my question. That was
was a question.
That was the question I posed for the chat. You wasn't supposed to see it yet. I was I was like, I'm gonna have it there. I'm gonna have it there from whenever we move on. But yeah, have we traded community and collective responsibility for personal success and independence? I would say yes. And like we said earlier, I think we're more in the era of do you, right? And I think the reason being is not, I don't think we traded community intentionally. I don't think this was an intentional thing. Like, you know what, we're like, you know what, let's give up on community. I think what it is that we have been fed lies through social media, television. We have been hurt. And not only have we been hurt, but we shared our hurt experiences with other people, right? And those experiences have become our trauma as well. Even though it never happened to us individually, when someone else told us, it became our reality. So, and I'm saying this too because today we were supposed to be talking about is marriage still a thing? Which, if you did come in today for that show, it will be next week. We just postponed it. We postponed it to next week. But as I was studying the numbers, I'm seeing like the marriage rate progressively drop. And when you look at each time zone in each period in which I mentioned on the statistics, I mentioned them about 4 weeks ago. And each time frame where I mentioned the statistics of the marriage rate dropping, and each one of those time frames, the people there were talking about how bad the black man is or how bad the black woman is. But it wasn't really that bad because people were still getting married and the marriages were actually really strong. But the reason why we're having the conversations today is black marriage still a thing or is it outdated is because those numbers are decreasing tremendously now. And now is real. Now is real. Now is really hard to find a good black man and a good black woman because those traumas have become our reality.
You dropping dimes. I want to segue to kind of bring us a little bit back because you're kind of getting into next week's show, and we got 5 for next week's show.
I was thinking the same thing. Go ahead.
I think one thing that really makes this specifically interesting, and when it comes to the black community, is that we're probably the only one that functions like a matriarchy, and because it functions like a matriarchy, I think communities in general tend to break down because you don't have a lot of male leadership. You know, that goes against the whole matriarchy system. So you tend to have, we tend to celebrate women more, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But the problem becomes when we don't have the men to counterbalance those strong women. And if we don't have the men, that means we don't have the marriages. If we don't have the marriages, then we're more likely to be strangers with our neighbors. If we're strangers with our neighbors, we're less likely to be interested in the kids in the neighborhood. If we're less likely to be interested in the kids in the neighborhood, we're less likely to be concerned about what's happening in the neighborhood as long as it doesn't directly impact us. And so it just breaks down to where we slowly have isolated ourselves to a point to where what's happening in my bubble is all I'm concerned about. The rest of it isn't my issue. And I think that is a symptom of the matriarchy.
That's good. So I'm gonna say this. I think what happened. I'm gonna say this. This is what happened. I feel because a lot of times, before we were as a people, I feel like we were pushed to be together, like a lot. And then when we kind of integrated, it kind of pushed everybody to kind of go out and do their own thing. But at the same time, we still had a sense of community amongst ourselves. But then over time, and really honestly, around the time social media, cell phones, and all those things became popular, one, it separated us. You know, it separated everyone because you're on your phones, you're inside, you're watching TV, you're on social media. And then also you come into the aspect of everybody is pushing it for like degrees and success, you know, and especially like after COVID, it really, like that time, people was really pushing to be entrepreneurs and successful and different things like that. And I heard this really cool perspective. And it was just talking about how different parts of the world moves. So it was just saying like our part of the world moves on. Basically, you got to be on time. You got to do this by this time, this. So it's about productivity. In other parts of the society, it's about more relationships, building. Like, so if I sit here and talk to you from 10 in the morning to 3 p.m., man, we just had like a really good conversation. So many people came in. It was just we just were moving. I may have not gotten it done, but I received so much wisdom, you know. So it's more some other cultures move like that. And like in Africa, I think South America, Europe, and Asia, they move like that. But in our society, is about like, wait, no, 10 o'clock, I gotta go, y'all. Bye, peace, I'm out. So it pulls us more apart. So then in the end, you lose that community because it's like, oh well, y'all, I gotta go, peace, you know, versus like just resting in the moment and just enjoying people's company, you know. So it's like, you know, I was like, I like that video because you know I ain't never on time.
You know, I think it's due to that, you know, that survival mentality that we talk about in the community. Because if I've noticed this from working in corporate, is that at the very base level where you're working with your hands, so to speak, you're at the very entry level positions. It's all about productivity. You know, you're usually very micromanaged. You know specifically when you got to get here. You got metrics to make sure you're doing your job. You got time constraints. You have all of these different things, all of these different boxes you got to check day in, day out. But as you progress in the company, that becomes less of the job because now they're expecting you to just have the ability to manage your time. It becomes a lot more about building relationships. How well can you work with people who don't necessarily agree with you? People who come from a different lifestyle than you, or maybe a different background than you. How well are you able to work and build relationships and get things done with a group of people? And so because I think we are stuck in the survival mindset, we're trying to just grab it. We don't understand. We're missing the big picture in that we need people in order to achieve great things. So so part of why it's so isolated is because everybody's in survival. Everybody's trying, you know, not to get into the red. Whereas if we came together, we'd find out that if we were all working together, it wouldn't be as hard. And then we wouldn't be worried so much about failing. And then we can actually start to succeed and make progress.
That's good. You know, I want to read what Ebony says. So shout out to Ebony. Ebony's going to be on next week, you guys. Y'all, we got an awesome show planned with her next week. We have to postpone it because she is helping a mother deliver a baby. And, you know, babies have their own clock. So most people haven't had consistent, reliable people. We experience raggedy energies early in life. It makes it harder to open up and receive help. So what is the solution to build up and teach the young men in the community to counteract this matriarchal culture? And you had mentioned that earlier, so I wanted to read that.
The answer, I believe, is simple. The execution is maybe not so much.
Yeah.
So the simple thing is we need to, as men, we need to define what being a man is. As a black man, we need to collectively come up and determine what that is. First foremost. Once we do that, we need to develop and institute some sort of a rite of passage. Some way where we can, in a controlled environment, teach these boys to basically find their backbones, to basically build their frames so that they're ready to go and tackle the world that the world is not designed to be your friend.
Yeah.
You know, the world is an open canvas, and with anything without rules, there's danger, there's inherent dangers in that. But we are stunting our boys. You know, this whole participation trophy nonsense is stunting them. So they're not being pressed to be able to depend on themselves. They're not being pressed to think long term as opposed to short term. Those are things that unfortunately are likely not gonna come from a woman's leadership. Those are things that are typically going to come from a man's leadership, because I was listening to Anton Daniels today, and he was saying, if I was to describe masculinity in one word, I would say it's suffering. It's your ability to suffer for other people and how you handle how you handle that burden. That's what masculinity is. And so right now, the boys are going to suffer regardless. What we have to do is to give them a way to find meaning in that suffering. But if they have no male leadership, they're only going to take their perspective or their circumstances to dictate what the justification for that suffering is. And if nobody wants to take accountability, they're going to do what everybody else is doing. They're going to blame somebody else. It's her fault. It's his fault. It's the government's fault. It's my mama's fault. It's because I'm black. Whoever they can blame, they're going to find somebody to blame because they weren't taught that, hey, this is a part of life. And they didn't go through the things that they need to do to be able to rely on themselves and take accountability.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. And that's one, I seen this video on y'all social media, it just be crazy. I seen this woman, and it was a black woman, and she was just saying how basically that's why I ain't dealing with the black man no more. Like basically just saying like the black man is nothing and stuff like that, just putting them down, and that's why I'm never gonna have no black sons. So it just was like it's disheartening because I feel like I see us a lot of times, see a lot of black women with the same kind of story. They're saying they're giving up on that. They're, digressing. They're going to a different race and stuff like that because they tried it and it's not working or whatever. But I feel like we can't give up on the black man because when you give up on the black man, you give up on the black woman, right? Because without the black man and the black woman, there is no us, right? If we deplete both of us, we're done. So it's like we cannot give up on the black man, which is why we have to start raising our sons with the mindset, just like you said. And I feel like it's going to take time because you have to raise up one generation so correctly, right? Keeping the homes together, men being accountable for themselves, women being accountable for themselves. And then won't push us because this is more pushing us to the individualism thing. Like I'm not doing this,
Right.
We're losing that community aspect. Like, no, y'all, it takes a village. We all got to help each other, but no one wants to help each other anymore. But if we leave the black man, then we destroy the black woman. So we have to build up the black man. We have to teach our sons, raise our sons, be patient with our husbands, and also look reflective inwardly on ourselves and see what damage are we causing. Because at the same time, like I always say, the mothers are the shapers of the generation. The man is not shaping the generation. We live in such a matriarchal culture, It's like we don't hear, oh, he's the patriarch of the family. No, we don't hear that. We hear she's the matriarch of the family. Right? We hear that all the time. And if she is the matriarch of the family, and if the whole family is crap, it fell on her. Right?
No, that's not how it works. If the whole family is crap, it's because the man wasn't there.
Well, that's true. That's true. That is true. I will say that. I will say that. I will say that. But a lot of times, women, we still can't push it back on just the man. We have to push it back on ourselves because who laid with the man? Who picked that man first?
Oh, I was being facetious.
Oh,
okay.
Okay.
I'm basically saying that. No, you were 100% right.
Yeah.
You were 100% right. What I'm saying is what actually gets communicated is because the man wasn't there.
That is true. That is true. And that's what I was going to say when you said that. Before you said that, but when you said it, I'm like, oh man, he threw a curveball just now. No, but yeah, I mean, at some point, we both have to take responsibility.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, back to Ebony's question on, so what is the solution to build up to teach young men in the community to counteract this matriarchy culture? I think that organizations like and this is not just to promote Marquise Dennis with Birthright Living Legacy, but I think organizations like that is really like key to helping us reverse this, because like we talked about it a few months ago about how a lot of our men are underdeveloped because we were raised by only women.
Mm-hmm.
So when you take that man who's underdeveloped because he was only raised by women and you send him out into the world to be a man, he's like, he's still a child.
Mm-hmm.
He's still dependent upon a woman. That's why when women come in that man's life, that woman, the cycle just continues. That woman is going to lead. It's going to look like the man is leading,
Mm-hmm.
but in reality, the woman's leading because that's all he's used to.
Exactly.
So you can't take this man after only being raised by a woman and tell him be a man now. You're the man of the house. Now you have to actually qualify him.
Mm-hmm.
You have to teach him. You have to prepare him, or else he's gonna fold under pressure
Exactly.
because he's never experienced it. It's like you take me, you put me in a basketball game just because I'm shaped like a basketball player, and you say, "Hey, you're a basketball player." I'm gonna go out there. I see y'all can't see Agapron, but he laughing at me because he knows like it don't work like that. You can't just put me in a ring and be like, "You boxer built. Go ahead, box this box."
That's true. That's true.
No, you put me in a world with sharks.
Mm-hmm.
And our young women, they have been raised to lead. That's all they saw.
That's all they saw. They've been just told to, they're constantly being told to sustain themselves,
Mhm.
to get the bag, to get the education. What was that? I think it was Miley Cyrus who made the song. She was like, "I can buy myself flowers,"
Mm-hmm.
and I was sitting there thinking, I was like, "Well, yeah, you know where they sell them. You could have did that the whole time." But that's the kind of rhetoric that's being thrown around, which is part of why we're in these predicaments.
Yeah, that's true. Like I want to go into Ebony's question. She had put another question, which I love Ebony's question. She comes with really good questions. She said we haven't been taught how to pick men also. Where is that education? That is so true. Because we haven't been taught. We haven't been explained the process because like a lot of times people you tell your kids you shouldn't don't have sex, you don't be doing that, or whatever. But we didn't explain to them, one, you didn't explain to their bodies why they're experiencing the feelings or whatever, because a lot of times we didn't know the education behind it. But it's like no one was explaining those things.
So I'll put it this way. The reason that's the case for this generation is because that typically came from the dad. So here's the thing. We don't necessarily like to discuss this, but the truth is, in general, women tend to be a bit gullible. And just the way the battle of the sexes works, men have a weakness to women, women have a weakness to men. So men, we understand the game, or those of us who do, we understand the game. The game is designed to get an impact or to get a response from a woman. That's the whole point of it. So the old way is that your father qualified the man, because man to man, we could go look at him and be like, nah, he full of it. He can't even maintain eye contact. He lying. He's shifty.
That's facts.
He showed up an hour late, and knowing that he was going to meet us for the first time. Bad character. He comes over looking shoddy, not doing anything. Those were things that your father was typically going to root out for you. And then of the guys that did make the cut, they were more than likely going to be good partners for you.
Right.
Your dad still wasn't going to like him because it's a conflict. It's a natural conflict. He's not necessarily going to like that man when you guys get together. He's not going to like him until he's shown a consistent pattern of taking care of you and doing good by you. So he doesn't need to like him up front, but it was his job to filter out the nonsense and the riffraff, because even your mother is still a woman. And so even to that degree, she can be fooled just like you.
Right.
So that's one of I think the reasons why that doesn't happen.
It's funny. I think we were supposed to be talking more so about the community, right? And us individualizing ourselves from the community, right? But we found ourselves back here talking about the man and the woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because we know there is no community if the man and the woman is divided.
Yeah, you need both of them.
You need both of them. And I think once we start like realizing that, once we start realizing how the yin and the yang works, you know, how the feminine and the masculine works, we would appreciate that more, and we'll take ownership of our roles more instead of fighting for one role. Because right now, honestly, it looks like what's the most attractive characteristic traits right now that we're fighting over is the masculine. But the men are like, man, I surely do miss that feminine spirit. It's like, man, I want this feminine woman so bad. And to be fair, I know it's because the women are in survival mode. I do know that.
Right.
But the real men, we're like, where they at? And then, because the men are in survival mode, the women are like, there are some women that are like, where these real masculine men at? I've tried to be in a relationship, but he turned out to be a feminine man and I had to step up, you know. But we know that is the way it is because the men are also in survival mode. So the men are becoming like feminine.
Well, yeah, because basically, as we mentioned, the men are going out there with no tools, no tool belt, no owner's manual, you know, no real experience.
That's facts, yeah.
And so they basically getting out here realizing that, hey, everything counts now. Even though, you know, a few months ago, I had to ask permission to use the bathroom. Hey, it's all on me now. Well, so he's got to get out there and do it. Like, I think we talked a couple shows ago, and I was like, you know, I was listening to this woman speak, and I was like, you know, if you were a man, we would just tell you, suck it up. That's just being life. You know, paying your bills, taking care of your responsibilities. That's just part of life. All those men are having to go through that. And then somewhere in the midst of this, they feel like, well, I got to get a family too. And as men, I think we all, to a certain point, have this idea that we want to get a woman sooner than later, because if we do get to that point, we won't have a way to figure out if she wants us or our stuff. So there's a pressure to try and find a partner when you're younger, but you in survival mode trying to figure it out. And then if you get with a woman who's in survival mode, trying to be the masculine with you too, either you're going to just let her go, let her lead just to try and keep a little bit of peace in the relationship until it eventually fizzles out, or it's like, ain't no good partners out here.
Right.
But unfortunately, the world don't owe you understanding. You know, your traumas, your circumstances, as valid as they may be, don't mean nothing to nobody else. That's why we got to take that accountability. That's why we dive in these talks.
Yeah, that's true. Shout out to Maisha. She chimed in the chat. She said she had a convo with a friend. She had told her that she was operating as the head in her household, and she said she couldn't depend on him, and that's how it started. And that's a lot of times that is true. I was listening to the song Teach Me How to Love today, and I was just thinking, like, there's a part in the song where he was like, he was told the definition of a man was to provide, you know, work till you die, you know, just doing all those things, right? But he didn't know how to love. So he was asking the girl to teach me how to love. I feel like now today our men don't know how to do anything. We don't know how to provide. We don't know how to step up. And also, somebody said, don't forget prime time with Echo.
Yeah, I was like,
but, no, we're going to get into it. We kind of ran a little longer, but he wasn't taught how to love, but at least he knew how, you know, to provide as a man, you know, on that aspect as a man. But, you know, now today our men don't know how to, but our women definitely have been taught how to. They know how to keep a roof over the head, provide work, you know. So it's just like, now we're in the process of teaching everything to everybody again.
Shout out to our strong Black women who have done it, you know, who have worked as hard as they could to keep our race alive. Shout out to you. But at the same time, it is now time for the men to start to raise up. And I would like to encourage the Black woman too. And in the process, I'm gonna make it real short. I forgot it's prime time.
It's fine
And the
time.
process of raising out the next generation, just keep that in mind that we need strong black men. I would say that because our women have really like they went through the mud for us, you know. But just keep in mind for the next generation, we need some strong black men.
That's true.
So that means his dad need to be involved. I'm gonna say maybe need to be involved, but a man needs to be involved.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you guys. So it's that time. It is prime time with Edgar Prime. You guys, I'm excited. So go ahead, hop in it. I got your picture for you. Let me know when to put it up.
All right, go ahead and put it up. Put it up.
All right.
I think I forgot which one I picked. So let's
Action.
There we go.
Why cheat on someone you don't want to lose with someone you don't want to keep? Ooh. The age-old question.
Whoa.
So I want to touch this, and then I want to take this in a separate direction. So why would a man cheat with a woman he doesn't want, as opposed and risk losing the woman that he does want? Simply put, men, we compartmentalize. We don't feel the same way about things that women do. And so I was going to touch on this when you brought up that song about teaching me how to love. What I actually took from that song is that he was basically in a box where he wasn't allowed to accept the fact that men love differently from women. So that song was basically him saying, well, teach me how you love and how you're going to receive it so that I can better do this. When the reality is that he needs to understand that men love differently from women. So I say all of that to say is that men compartmentalize. And so just as a woman, from a physical standpoint, from a biological standpoint, you won't be able to meet all of the sexual needs of your man. That's not to say that all men cheat or that cheating or anything is necessary or that it's okay. I don't believe in lying. I don't believe in hiding things. But what I would say is that this is a situation of where he may not necessarily be looking to lose you. So from your perspective, and I'll talk about this with women, is that for a woman, if you were going to cheat, you will only sleep with a man that you deem at the very least relationship worthy. That means at a basic level, you had to not only find him attractive, but you had to like him enough to where you would consider dating him. Men don't operate that way. So as a woman, you see that man go sleep with another woman. And from your perspective, you see that as, oh, well, he's looking to have a whole nother relationship. Oh, he really loved this girl. Oh, I'm not good enough. But that's really because if you as a woman did that, that would have been your motivation. That would have been your reasoning. That would have been the process you took in that. So what I will say all of that to say is cheating's not good. You shouldn't be lying to your partner. Communication is better. And we'll resolve most issues if people can come honest to the conversation. But while I got you here, people, everybody quiet and everything, I want to talk about woman's intuition. And I just don't understand why woman's intuition only serves to ruin relationships. You can your woman's intuition flare up if he cheating, if he lying to you, if he got a problem of some kind, but it never flares up if he depressed. It never flares up if he's feeling, unappreciated. It never flares up if he feel like he ain't getting intimate contact from you, if he not happy. Why women have the power of manipulation and can sway the emotions of men? Why aren't the women using that for good, or at the very least to save your own relationship? Instead of using that time to figure out if he's cheating, how about using that time to figure out how you can make him happy?
That's good.
How can you take some of that load off of him? Better yet, how can you manipulate him into being the husband you want?
You know what? I think women do have women's intuition. I believe it's real. But in that case, I said it before. I don't think it's women's intuition. What I think it is I think the woman, in most cases, the woman knows that she something has changed. She realized something has changed. You know, whether it's like, okay, normally when I talk like this to him, he gets upset.
Right.
And she's now realizing like nothing matters to him anymore. We haven't been intimate in a minute and he's fine. I think this is more what's going on. And they call it women's intuition.
Social cues.
Yeah.
Right.
Social cues. Right. You know, versus, you know, because if that weren't the case, if you really had women's intuition, then like you said, it will operate at all times. It wouldn't just operate at the last moment where it's time for you to go. Like God gave you a gift where he's just like, you know what, I'm gonna give you all the women a gift where you just know when to leave.
Yeah, well, you just know to sabotage your relationship.
Not how to make the relationship better, but just to know when to leave. Nah, I don't think that's functional.
Yeah, Maisha, she said it does. Men push us away or shut down. So she said that when Edgar Prime was talking.
But you know, typically, like men move in stages. So, like, I'd like to go back to the whole butt slap thing. Very common, very popular thing men tend to do, and it's typically a sign of affection. Just intimate physical contact. But what'll happen sometimes is, depending upon what your response is and how severe it is, you're only gonna get 2 to 3 times with most men before it's going to cause a change in behavior. Because men operate in the sense that we don't want to keep experiencing the same problem. If we eat something and it don't taste good, we don't eat it again. If I do something and it don't feel good, I don't do it again unless I got a really good reason to do it again. So when we have those interactions with our women, and whether it just be an emotional moment or whether you just didn't care, you wasn't feeling him at the time, all of those times you kind of lash out at him for trying to open up and express himself to you. There's going to come a point where he's going to stop doing it, because he's going to choose to decide to protect himself rather than open himself up to you. And the problem that happens in relationships is, as soon as that man shuts that off, he can't turn it back on.
Right.
And so he'll shut that off, and now you feeling distance in the relationship because, well, he's not physical with me anymore. Well, you complained about it. You didn't want to be touched. You had a headache. Your stomach was hurt. And I'm not saying these things don't happen, but what I am saying is that the combination of them will result in a change. And men, we're not going to argue with you if we feel like the conversation is not going nowhere. If you got a justification for everything that happens, we're going to stop arguing with you. We just going to stop putting ourselves into that situation. But what'll happen is that he's just going to keep shutting it down till it gets to a point where it ain't nothing between y'all but roommates.
See, when we get into individualism, you shut yourself off from receiving that kind of wisdom. Because I feel like the elders used to give that kind of wisdom. You know, the older women, they would say, look, you keep telling him you don't like that, eventually
he gonna stop doing it.
Stop it, and you gonna miss it. So are you sure? Because that older woman is gonna tell you how men operate. It's funny, when we did the street portion, when we asked older women what is it that men look for, they were right on the money. I'm sitting up there like, you can see the wisdom. Because this woman been around long enough to know a man, but she know what a man want probably better than I do, because she's been around longer. But like, because we're in that do you culture, we shut ourselves off from that wisdom, and the wisdom is just walking around in the midst of us. But we don't want to hear from her. Just like Felicia Rashad, I'm not listening to her. The man who said that, or the woman who said that.
Yeah, well, it was a woman. That was crazy. Y'all, Edgar Prime always come with a very good topic. That's why they be waiting. But now we're about to get into the blackout with Richard Ruse as he closes it down.
Thank you for tuning in to the Black Love Club on KBOB 89.9. And just to wrap it up, I'm just going to encourage you guys just to remember that the man and the woman, we are the yin and the yang, and we need each other. The community is nothing without us, and the community is better with us. And with that, I close, and together we say, Black women,
we love you.
And Black men, We love you. And you, Black child, are golden. So until next time, you guys, we'll see you. Peace.
Peace and blessings. I wish I would have said it. She said, I love